Okay, so we're ready to go, and Ashley, over to you. Oh, you're on mute still.
Sorry, I was taking what you said to heart and keeping myself on mute. My name is Ashley Edwards. I'm the U.S. Partnerships Manager in the News Lab, and I've worked on the Innovation Challenge one time before this. I'm really excited about what we're going to go through today. Next slide. So just a little bit of background on the GNI. This is Google's initiative to work with journalists, and we work with journalists in 3 ways: with products, partnerships, and programs. And partnerships is a huge part of my job. So the Innovation Challenge is just one of the programs we have to work with newsrooms and journalists to develop technology to help the news industry along. Next slide. Ben, I think the slideshow went away. Great. So the GNI Innovation Challenge is a global program. 125 countries are eligible, and you're in 4 regions: APAC, META, LATAM, and North America. This challenge is specifically for North America, which means US, Canada, Mexico. Last challenge I worked on was focused on diversity, and we had a lot of great projects with that. So we'll play a little bit a video of some of our North American recipients of our last challenge.
It was the best birthday gift I could have received.
I'm like, when can we tell people?
Hey, we did. So now this is actually going to make their dreams come true.
If today's industry of media does not adapt, we will die. And with that premise, then we're striving to make sure we arrive or are where our audience wants us to be.
And what we're working on is creating an AI-powered tool that'll assess the quality of sources in a news story.
EBC's Google GNI Innovation Challenge project is to distribute and license our incomparable archive of youth-produced films and clips to the mainstream media.
It's really a call to encourage collaboration, to support collaborative journalism, and we hope to champion collaborative revenue model development through a data hub and content sharing platform.
In Black communities, usually you only hear news stories out of them if a crime happens, or here's a story that's looking at poverty, and that's not the only things that are happening in Black communities. And that's the thing. And the stories that aren't getting told are the ones that we want to get out.
Everyone is really excited at the possibility of doing something different.
Even if part of this is successful, you know, this can be really a game changer.
Hey, babes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that was some of our recipients of last year's challenge. So many great projects. And I think this year's challenge is really interesting and different than what we've done in the past. So Ben will tell you a little bit more about that.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Go over here. So moving on to our next round's theme, we're taking a really exciting new turn for round 3. We feel like a key challenge for local publishers to thrive in the future is to understand and serve the needs of your communities. This is no longer about making new news products like the previous 2 challenges were. This is really about research and communication. So the theme for this round is understanding the needs of local readers. And let's look at it briefly. We'll award up to $200,000 to projects that demonstrate new thinking in how local news publishers assess the needs of their diverse communities online and communicate the beneficial services that they provide. There's a lot there, a lot to unpack, but it's really about 2 things. One is developing rigorous research about your community. And two, it's about applying those learnings to your strategy and how you communicate about what you do with your readers. I would encourage you, and I'll put it up towards the end of the presentation, so you don't need to write it down, but go to g.co/newsinnovation, and you can read tons of FAQs, lots of detail about the sorts of things that we're looking at here, and it's a good reference to go back to. This is open to all local news innovators. Sure, it can be local newspapers, it can be TV, it can be radio, it can be a group of publishers that operate in local markets. You can be a digital native. This can be a university or an academic group that is that's wanting to do something local. The only difference between this round and the previous two rounds is that you need to be registered as a company by the time that we select you. So this is not open to freelancers. This is open to local media organizations. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for projects around online news. It's rigorous, trustworthy research around online news. The main component is digital, because we're talking about innovation and the future, and our future is digital. Sure, it's blended, but it's digital. Does this have to be just for your news product? No, it can be specific to your organization or collaborative. Do you want to work with a consortium of publishers? Great. Do you want to work with a research company? Great. Collaborations are more than welcome. So while we were trying to think about the types of projects that we're wanting to see from you all, we kind of came up with these 4 stages idea. We're not trying to be prescriptive, but these are the sorts of things we're going to be looking for that need to sort of shine through in your application that we're looking at. First is using data-driven methods like surveys and focus groups. You got to establish a baseline of the community's informational needs and expectations. So it's got to be research. It can't be a soft, let's make a community advisory panel and listen to what they have to say. Or this can't be, let's go license some research product and make our content a little bit better. This has to be solid research that I think some of us remember from school. It's got to be valid, it's got to be reliable, it's got to be representative. Think about, is this repeatable by other people, etc. And we can get more into that later if you like. But then the learning on its own isn't any good, right? That you have to incorporate those learnings into adjustments into your product and editorial strategy and your messaging. And that, as we all know, isn't good enough. You need to repeat your original research to see the sorts of impact that you've had by making those changes through those learnings. And then why are we doing this as GNI? Well, we want to help make the industry sustainable and help transform it to a solid digital future. So we want the people that we select for funding through this project to be able to disclose what they've learned and the tools that they've developed and evaluate how those learning might go to both your ongoing approach and how you might inspire others in the industry. So you might say, okay, that's fine. 4 stages, do some research, take it back, see what we can do with it, but I'm not really sure what you're looking for. And this is brand new for any challenge that we've done around the world going in this direction, and we're super excited about it, but I don't have any previous recipients to bring and say, well, this is something that was definitely chosen. So these are hypotheticals. What I can say is that we're looking for things that are based in rigorous research that make that arc of improving your product design or editorial strategy and come back. But so here's some examples. Community engagement. Let's say that you and another publisher in an adjacent market have a similar community makeup, and you have a Hispanic community that you think has slightly different needs or expectations for news than you're currently giving. Well, if you have a structured community listening project together that involves online events, Facebook forums, SMS, and you take that information, analyze it, and help improve your communication or your product, that's probably something that we'd be looking for. Another one might be revenue. What if you analyze your readers into certain segments and say, well, we think there's a lot of people that look like these readers in the market, and we would like to grow our subscriptions that way. Well, what if through surveys you found out if somebody was sort of more right-leaning or left-leaning? Then when you message to their lookalikes, you asked them if they would be willing to subscribe by talking about your long-standing service to a community, or how you protect vulnerable people in your communities. And there's got to be a lot of other ways to segment, but it could absolutely be about revenue, and we really want this to be about sustainability. And then this can also be technology. Maybe you've got multiple media types, lots of different departments where you've got a lot of information stored away and you have knowledge, but you don't really have any wisdom. Maybe creating a holistic view of your customers and enabling your customer service reps to be able to provide seamless service and profiling. That might be something that we're also looking for. Let's see, Allison, that's a great question. Are local PBS stations eligible to apply? Yeah, absolutely would. We're thinking of, as far as local goes, and it can be a gray area, but we're thinking about a specific geography where the group of people doing the project are working. And if there's some local application to that, you're absolutely welcome. Mazen, that's also a good question. It depends on how far you've made it with step one, and we can discuss that in the Q&A. I'll try to remember to come back to that, or raise your hand, but that's an excellent question. So we hope we get tons of applications from people, and we're giving away 200,000 per project, and that's up to 70% of your total project budget, as an aside. But how are Ashley and myself and the project team going to decide who to fund? Well, we've set ourselves these 5 selection criteria that we're going to be looking to come through in your applications. First is the process and the tools that you've used. What are the tools? What's the scope? What is in scope and what's not in scope? What is the level of depth that you're going to? DEI impact. We built on, our second round was all about sustainability through diversity. And it's very important for us at the Innovation Challenges, at GNI and Google, and we feel like for society at large, to really move forward in improving diversity, equity, and inclusion at all layers of what we do. And it is now a direct criteria that we want projects from people that are going to push the needle somewhere with DEI. That's very important to us. Innovation and use of technology. Surprise, it's the Innovation Challenge. So it's really got to be an interesting and unique take on your research or how you're going to share it. Feasibility is very important for us. We probably don't know your team as well as we should. And if you wouldn't mind going on mute, that would be helpful. Thank you. Please tell us about your team and the amazing rock stars that you're working with. We want to be like, oh my goodness, this is the right team to be doing this project. And then also, is it the right fit for your team? Are you trying to build a bridge to the moon? Well, maybe not. That might take more resources. You know, make sure we can understand why you're right for it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, inspiration. We want you to be able to share both your learnings, the tools you're making with others, so that they can repeat it in their own markets and improve as well. Let's see, Bert, I missed the question. The 30% threshold. Yeah, that's a super question. The 70% threshold means if you wanted $200,000 from us, you would need to come with a budget of right around $290,000. So I'm gonna do this much research. It's gonna cost me this many hours in the editorial department. I have this many project managers. And if that adds up to like 290, then 70% of that we would fund would be the 200, and you would have to bring the 30% of that. Do you have to bring cash? Absolutely not. It can be staff time, other things like that, but you would have to also invest a certain amount into that.
Ben, do you want me to wait till the end to get to the questions? We just have a few other ones as well.
Great. Yeah, you know, I'm almost done. So let me just burn through it really quickly.
Got it.
Thanks so much. So how are we going to decide? Is it just Ashley and I saying, oh, these are cool people? Now we wish, but not even close. We've got an amazing project team from the United States and Canada, and even here in Europe where I'm based, that are going to come together and do an initial shortlisting and interview people and come up with recommendations for a jury. And then we have a jury made up of a number of Google executives and even possibly external experts, as we've had in the past. And we're going to go pitch to the jury, and they'll make a final decision. So tips for you as you apply. The main thing is down at the bottom. It's NAGNIchallenge@google.com. There's a real team behind it. It's our team. We want to hear your questions. If you want to get on a separate video call with us, if we can't answer your question without talking to you more, that's great. We're really happy to set something up. But go to that g.co/newsinnovation, read the terms and conditions, read the FAQ. There's a lot there. It'll let you know certain things, like there's not funding available just for content creation, and that your project should only last a year. We're not looking for projects unless they have that clear focus on rigorous and trustworthy research and testing. And collaborative projects are absolutely welcome. As I also mentioned, this shouldn't just be going out and paying an existing vendor and improving your content. It should be something a bit more than that. And think about the impact on the news ecosystem. And by way of that, how you plan to share the learnings. So you still have time. We're going to close the application window on August 26th. However, as some of you might have seen already, it is a very detailed application that we're asking people to fill out. So you'll really need to get started on it quickly. And you can download a list of all the questions on the site as well. So g.co/newsinnovation takes you to our site. And now we can move on to the question and answer. And let me stop presenting so we can see people a little bit better.
Great. So you answered the question about PBS stations. The next question is from Mazen. If you've already started stage 1, are you not eligible to apply? And I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Thanks so much, Ashley. We would want you to not have started the project until we would select you for funding. the preparation work is fine, but the only thing that we can offer payment for is things that haven't started until the contract has been finally signed with you.
The next question is from Allie McGee. Are companies that have several local markets, each creating a hyper-local product across the US eligible, or would the project need to be only in one market? So a project might deploy the same research strategy, et cetera, across multiple markets.
Awesome question, Allie. We are going to accept a total of 1 application per publication, and within a group up to 3 maximum. So if you're in a group of hyperlocals and you had 3 different projects, you could apply to that. If it is the same project in multiple markets, we would only want 1 application from you on that. And we would really encourage you as a team and as a group to really think about what your best project idea is and go in for that.
So I think you answered the question about the 70% threshold by Bart. So I'm going to move on to Meg Waters. After the research of our plan for implementation may change from the proposal depending on what we learn. Does that matter?
That's, I think, a very interesting question. And I think that is, on the one hand, we really need people to be as clear as possible in their applications. Crystal clear. We should be able to get in the first sentence what it is you're trying to do. But it's true. I mean, based on the research, what you may do with it might change. So I'd recommend that you write it in such a way that to give yourself some space. But depending on what you learn, I think there will be some room in this one. But this is the first time we've been through it, so we look forward to seeing your applications.
Great. And the next question is, are you looking to make only 200,000 grants? Would you consider a smaller amount like 50K? And I can answer that. Yes, we accept proposals for smaller amounts. We would fund projects up to $200,000.
Absolutely.
The next question is from Amy Fowler. I know you said universities are eligible, but just checking, is a university licensee public radio station also eligible?
If it's about that local market, yes. We do have to, and I believe the public radio station in some technical ways falls into government control, even though it's just licensing. So there's some additional checks that we have to do as far as due diligence goes, but a university licensee public radio station would absolutely be eligible for this.
And the next question is from A.Newell. I can't see your full name just because of everyone on the screen. In the GNI intro, it says you're accepting applications in both English and French. However, in the terms and conditions, it states eligible geographies means Canada, excluding Quebec, and the United States, including U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. overseas territories. Excluding Quebec excludes a rather important group of French language only publishers. Is there a reason for this? This project is directly in line with our business, and I was surprised to see this.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. Quebec is absolutely in the realm of eligibility, and the French language component of you being able to submit the application is for Quebec, actually. So we'll go and take a look, and if there's anything that needs updating in the terms and conditions, we'll look into that. But we absolutely want Quebec to apply, and we'll actually be having a similar town hall to this in French to help encourage applications. So thank you very much.
The next question is from Genevieve. How many grants are available?
Another excellent question, and it ties in directly with what the question that Ashley answered, is we do have a finite resource. It's not a strict, it depends on what comes in. However, we're trying to do maximum impact here. So if we have a ton of $50,000 applications, then frankly we can do more and have more impact. So that'll absolutely play into it.
And I know we're over time, so I'm just going to go to a couple of people who have raised their hands.
Wonderful.
Jay Setner, I see you raised your hand. If you want to go off mute.
Hey there, thank you very much. Just really quickly, I've got a couple firms in mind that we would be looking to engage with to help us conduct the research and the focus groups and things like that. How detailed do we need to be in the application and what that budget would look like? I mean, should we be working hand in hand with that partner right now on how much it would cost?
Terrific question. For me, when I'm reading an application, clarity trumps detail. Like if I can pull out what it is that you're trying to do, and I can get it from a budget and say, wow, that really makes sense. That seems repeatable. That's what we're going for. We might ask you at a later stage for a ton of detail, and you need to be prepared for that. But the application itself, a lot of the questions have like a 5,000 character limit or a 2,000 character limit. So you need to work on the clarity. But if you're working with a partner, your contract, if you were successful, would be with us, and then you would deal with the research partner. So within some limits, you would have leeway in how you allocate your different costs, with the exception of marketing, which needs to be capped at 20% maximum. Great question.
And then Rosanna, you had your hand raised, and then I'll ask one more question from the chat if we have time. If you have time, Ben.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. In this project, do you consider the importance of having good local news, or only technology and other tools?
We definitely, this is all about rigorous research and applying those learnings to your news product. However, there's a feasibility component to it also, where if you can demonstrate that you are the best, you are the cream of the crop for one reason or another, and that it's on, maybe the research you're doing is sort of standard, but if the topic is, you're just knocking out of your park, it's going to completely change your community, and you're really that top operator, that absolutely comes into play when we decide.
Because some small news, they have very good local news. I mean, concerned to the diversity, the most vulnerable communities, but sometimes that doesn't have all the technology you ask for this kind of projects. But the editorials, what they serve to the different minority communities are really good. And I think if the judge can support that, because as a matter of fact, what is really important is, as a publisher, we have excellent news for our readers, especially for the community in need.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Innovation is relative. Innovation is relative from market to market and company to company. And we do take into consideration where someone is on the spectrum of digital transformation about what would be innovative for them. And we do that on a global level all the way down to a local level.
Thank you.
I've also copied everyone's question we weren't able to answer, so we can get back to you after. And the last question I'll ask is from Rafael Corres. Are Spanish language projects in the US eligible?
Yes. But we would ask that the application and all of the contracting and interviews be done in English. But if it is about a Spanish language project, that's absolutely in scope.
Great, and everyone else who we weren't able, like I said, I've copied all your questions so we can answer them later.
Well, I really want to thank everyone for joining and even staying a little bit overtime with us today. And thank you, Ashley, for joining as a co-host. Please, with any questions you have, send us an email at nagnichallenge@google.com, and we have a team ready to help get your questions answered. So thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.